Rain hammered down on the empty streets of Boston, washing away footprints that should have told the truth. A body lay slumped against a flickering neon sign, eyes wide open as if still begging for help. The cops arrived too late, the sirens slicing through the night like broken promises. But this wasn't just another killing in a city that knew too many. This was personal, because the name carved into the victim's wrist matched the detective's own last name. Detective Ryan Callahan had seen dead bodies before too many, in fact, but something about this one made his skin crawl. The neon glow from the liquor store sign buzzed above the alley, throwing green and pink light across the rain-slicked pavement. The victim's body leaned against the brick wall like a puppet with its strings cut. "Jesus," muttered Officer Daniels, pulling his jacket tighter. "Looks like he didn't stand a chance." Ryan crouched down, ignoring the puddles soaking through his knees. The victim was a man in his late 30s, tall, wearing a wrinkled suit that had once been expensive. His eyes were wide open, glassy and unblinking, staring into nothing, but Ryan's focus wasn't on the lifeless face. It was on the mark carved into the victim's wrist. At first glance, it looked like random scratches, but the closer he looked, the clearer it became. It wasn't random at all. The letters were deliberate. CLL, HN, Ryan's last name. His throat went dry. He'd been on the force long enough to know this wasn't coincidence. Someone had staged this. Someone wanted him here. Detective. Daniel's voice cracked the silence. "You seein' this?" Ryan straightened up, forcing his voice steady. "Yeah, bag the scene. Nobody touches the body until forensics gets here, and keep this detail between us, for now." Daniels frowned, but I said for now. Ryan snapped, sharper than he meant. The rookie fell silent, scribbling in his notepad, while Ryan turned his gaze back to the body. The city hummed around them, traffic in the distance, the hiss of rain against metal trash bins, the low moan of the neon sign. Everything else seemed muted, insignificant, compared to the silent accusation carved into flesh. By the time the medical examiner arrived, the alley was buzzing with uniforms. Yellow tape fluttered in the wind. Reporters already gathered at the edge of the crowd, their umbrellas bobbing like vultures circling roadkill. Ryan kept his distance, leaning against his unmarked car, the weight of the situation pressing into his chest. Dr. Elaine Porter, the city's chief medical examiner, adjusted her gloves and knelt beside the body. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her sharp eyes missed nothing. "Single stab wound to the chest," she murmured. Clean, precise, probably a knife, no defensive wounds. He didn't see it coming. Ryan nodded grimly. Time of death. Between midnight and 2, rigor hasn't fully set in. She looked up at him. "But you're not worried about cause of death, are you?" Ryan's jaw tightened. "You saw the wrist. I saw it." She stripped off her gloves, dropping them into a biohazard bag. "Someone wanted to make sure you got the message." That word, messy, echoed in Ryan's head like a bullet ricocheting off concrete. He'd been a cop for nearly 15 years. He had enemies. Hell, half the city's criminals probably wanted him dead. But carving his family name into a corpse, that was different, that was personal. Later, back at the precinct, the murder board went up. A grainy photo of the victim was pinned dead center. His name, Thomas Blake, a local accountant with no priors, ordinary, forgettable, the kind of guy who never made headlines, until now. Ryan paced in front of the board, coffee in one hand, pen tapping against the other. The squad room buzzed with chatter, phones ringing, printers spitting out reports. But his focus stayed locked on the carved letters. Why Blake? Why carve Callahan into him? Lieutenant Garcia, his commanding officer, strode in. A broad-shouldered man with decades of street-worn authority, Garcia didn't waste time. "You gonna tell me why the hell your name's on my crime scene, Callahan?" Ryan swallowed, feeling every eye in the room shift toward him. "I don't know. I never met the guy. I've got no connection to him." "Bullshit," Garcia barked. "A civilian turns up dead with your name cut into his flesh, and you expect me to believe it's random?" Ryan met his glare. "I expect you to believe I had nothing to do with it." Somebody's trying to send a message to me, to the department. I don't know yet." The silence stretched, heavy as wet concrete. Finally, Garcia exhaled, rubbing his temples. "Fine, but you're on thin ice. Internal Affairs is already sniffing around. You screw this up, and they'll have your badge before sunrise." Ryan nodded, jaw clenched so hard it hurt. That night, Ryan sat alone in his apartment, staring at the case files spread across his kitchen table. Blake's financial records, his phone logs, his last known movements, nothing tied back to Ryan, nothing explained the connection. He reached for his glass of whiskey, but his hand froze halfway. On the edge of the table sat an envelope, one he didn't remember placing there. Slowly he picked it up, no return address, just his name, typed in bold letters, Detective Ryan Callahan. His pulse quickened. He ripped it open. Inside was a single photograph. The victim, Thomas Blake, alive, smiling nervously at a cafe table. Across from him sat Ryan's younger brother, Michael Callahan. Ryan's stomach dropped. He hadn't spoken to Michael in years, not since the fallout that tore their family apart. Now Blake was dead. His brother was in the frame. And the message was clear. This wasn't just a murder. It was the beginning of something much darker. Detective Ryan Callahan didn't sleep that night. He sat in his dark apartment with the photo clutched in his hand, the glow of the streetlights bleeding through half-drawn blinds. His younger brother, Michael, stared back at him from the grainy picture, smiling awkwardly across the table from Thomas Blake, the same man now lying on a slab in the city morgue. Ryan hadn't seen Michael in over 6 years. The last time had been at their father's funeral, where harsh words turned into an argument so bitter it split the family down the middle. Michael had walked out of the church and never looked back, and now his face was tied to a murder victim. Ryan finally pushed himself up, splashed cold water on his face, and drove back to the precinct. It was nearly dawn when he walked into the homicide unit. Officer Daniels looked up from his desk, bleary-eyed and nursing a styrofoam cup of coffee. "Detective, you look like hell," Daniels muttered. Ryan ignored him and dropped the envelope onto the desk. "Run the photo. Find me security footage, traffic cams, anything near that cafe in the last 72 hours. Daniels frowned as he pulled the photo out. "Who's the other guy?" Ryan hesitated. "My brother." The young officer's eyebrows shot up, but he wisely kept his mouth shut and began typing. Ryan stalked toward the murder board, staring again at Thomas Blake's smiling face. A man with no criminal record, no enemies, yet somehow connected to the most painful piece of Ryan's past. By mid-morning, Garcia stormed into his office, tossing a fresh report onto Ryan's desk. "Explain this." Ryan skimmed the paper. Blake's financial records showed large, unexplained transfers, tens of thousands of dollars moving in and out of shell accounts across state lines. He was laundering money, Ryan said softly. Garcia nodded. "For who is the question? Organized crime, cartels, somebody with deep pockets." His voice hardened. "And now I hear whispers that your brother might be involved. That photo's already floating around the department. You think I won't use this to hang you?" Ryan's chest tightened. "I'll find Michael. I'll bring him in myself." "You'd better," Garcia growled, "because if you don't, this whole case is gonna bury you along with him." The first lead came from the cafe. Daniels dug up security footage showing Michael arriving with Blake 2 nights before the murder. They shook hands awkwardly as though meeting for the first time. Blake slid an envelope across the table. Michael tucked it into his jacket. Ryan froze the frame on his brother's face. Michael looked older, harder around the edges, but there was no mistaking him. "Where are you, kid?" Ryan whispered to himself. That evening, Ryan drove across town to Southie, where Michael had last lived before vanishing off the grid. The neighborhood hadn't changed much. Row houses, cracked sidewalks, kids playing stickball under flickering streetlights. Ryan parked his car and walked toward the old brick building he remembered from childhood. The landlord, a grizzled man in a Red Sox cap, eyed him warily. "Callahan, yeah, I remember your brother. Moved out years ago. Left in a hurry, owed rent too. You seen him lately?" Ryan asked. The landlord spat into the gutter. "Couple weeks back. Came around asking if his old room was still empty. Looked nervous, jumpy. Told me he was in some trouble, but wouldn't say what." Ryan handed over his card. "Call me if he shows up again." As he turned to leave, the landlord called out, "Detective, you should know. Some guys in black SUV came looking for him too. Not cops, the kind that don't ask nice." Ryan's stomach sank. Whoever Blake had been laundering money for, Michael was caught in the middle. Back at his apartment, Ryan poured another glass of whiskey and stared at his phone, debating whether to call Michael's last known number. Before he could dial, a knock rattled the door. His hand went instinctively to his holster. When he opened the door, no one was there, just a small brown package on the floor. He brought it inside cautiously and sliced it open. Inside was a burner phone. The screen lit up instantly with a preset video. Michael's face filled the screen. His eyes were wild, voice trembling. "Ryan, if you're watching this, I don't have much time. They're after me. I didn't kill Blake, but I know who did. It's bigger than you think. Money, politicians, the mob. Blake was about to turn over evidence, and they silenced him. Now they want me next." He swallowed hard. "Meet me at Pier 47, midnight tomorrow. Come alone. If you bring backup, we're both dead." The video ended. The screen went black. Ryan's hand shook as he set the phone down. His brother was alive, but running from killers. And worse, he was about to drag Ryan headfirst into a conspiracy that smelled of blood and power. The next night, Ryan drove toward the docks. The city skyline glittered in the distance, but the waterfront was quiet, industrial shadows stretching long under the moonlight. Pier 47 was abandoned, the warehouses boarded up, rusting cranes frozen like skeletons against the night sky. He checked his watch, 11:59. Footsteps echoed behind him. Ryan spun, hand on his weapon. "Easy, brother," a voice said. Michael stepped out of the shadows, older, thinner, his hair longer and unkempt. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. Ryan lowered his gun, emotions tangling in his chest. "Mike, Jesus, where the hell have you been?" Michael glanced around nervously. "No time for reunions. They're watching us. You need to listen, then talk." Michael pulled a folded document from his jacket and shoved it into Ryan's hand. "Blake was working with me. We were about to expose a laundering network tied to Senator Avery. Millions in dirty money moving through Boston banks. Blake was scared. He wanted out. That's why they killed him." Ryan's blood ran cold. A sitting U.S. Senator, if Michael was telling the truth, this case wasn't just homicide, it was political dynamite. Before he could respond, headlights blazed at the end of the pier. Black SUV roared toward them. Doors flew open. Men in tactical gear spilled out, weapons raised. "Run!" Michael shouted. Gunfire shattered the night. Gunfire ripped through the night, echoing off rusted shipping containers. Bullets sparked against steel as Ryan and Michael dove for cover behind a stack of wooden pallets. The air reeked of salt, oil, and gunpowder. "Jesus Christ!" Ryan shouted over the chaos. "Who the hell are these guys?" Michael chambered a round and a pistol he pulled from his waistband. "They're Avery's people. Private security, mercs. The senator owns them like dogs." "Since when do senators keep hit squads on payroll?" Ryan growled, returning fire. "Since billions of dollars in dirty money are at stake." Michael snapped. The mercenaries advanced, tactical flashlights cutting through the dark. Ryan squeezed off 2 shots, dropping one, but there were too many. The brothers scrambled, ducking between crates until they reached a warehouse door. Michael shoved it open, and they tumbled inside. The cavernous space smelled of rust and rot. Moonlight leaked through broken windows, painting the floor in silver streaks. Ryan slammed the door shut, shoving a steel bar through the handles. "They'll be through in minutes," he said. "We need a plan." Michael pulled another envelope from his jacket. thrusting it at Ryan. "This is everything. Bank statements, offshore accounts, names, enough to bury Avery and his whole network. Blake died trying to get this to you." Ryan opened the file, his hands shaking. It was all there. Numbers, transactions, signatures, enough evidence to blow half the city's political elite into flames. Before he could respond, glass shattered overhead. A mercenary rappelled through the rafters, gun raised. Ryan fired instinctively. The man dropped like a rag doll. The warehouse doors exploded open. Dozens more poured in. Michael grabbed Ryan's arm. "We're not making it out unless we split up. Take the file. Expose Avery. That's all that matters." "No way." Ryan snarled. "I'm not leaving you." Michael's eyes softened just for a second. "You already left me once." Ryan's chest tightened, guilt slamming into him, the funeral, the fight, all the years lost. But before he could answer, the mercs swarmed. Smoke grenades hissed, chaos erupted. When Ryan woke, his head was pounding. He was handcuffed to a steel chair in a dimly lit room. His gun was gone, the envelope gone. Across from him sat Senator Avery. Perfectly pressed suit, hair silver and immaculate, the kind of smile that belonged on campaign posters, not in interrogation rooms. "Well, Detective Callahan," Avery drawled, pouring himself a glass of bourbon. "You've made quite the mess." Ryan's blood boiled. "Where's my brother?" Avery sipped his drink, alive, for now, though I can't say the same if he keeps running his mouth. "You killed Blake." Avery chuckled. "Kill is such an ugly word. Let's just say Blake forgot where his loyalties belonged, but you still have a choice." He slid a folder across the table. Inside were photos, dozens of them, of Ryan at crime scenes, his name carved into Blake's wrist, his connection to Michael. "You see," Avery continued, with the right push, "the public won't see a crusading detective. They'll see a corrupt cop protecting his criminal brother. You'll lose your badge, your reputation, your freedom." He leaned closer, voice dropping. "Unless you work for me," Ryan met his cold, shark-like eyes. "Go to hell." Avery sighed, as though disappointed by a child. "Pity, I thought you'd be smarter." He signaled to a guard, "Dispose of him." The guard dragged Ryan down a corridor toward the loading bay. Rain pounded against the roof, thunder rumbling overhead. Just as the guard raised his gun, a shot cracked from the shadows. The guard crumpled. Michael emerged, smoking pistol in hand. "Still can't stay out of trouble, huh, brother?" Ryan grinned through blood on his lip. "You took your sweet time." They freed each other quickly, adrenaline coursing. Ryan grabbed the guard's rifle. Together, they stormed back into Avery's office. The senator was gone. Papers scattered, bourbon glass overturned. A rear door swung open, rain sweeping in. They gave chase, sprinting into the storm. Avery was already in his SUV, engine roaring. Michael fired, shattering the windshield. The vehicle swerved, crashed into a barricade. Ryan yanked the door open, dragging Avery out. The senator clawed at him, face twisted with rage. "You can't touch me." Avery bellowed, "I am this city. I'll bury you both." Ryan slammed him against the hood, cuffs snapping around his wrists. "No, Senator," he hissed. "This city's done with you." Days later, the story exploded across national headlines. Senator Avery arrested in money laundering scandal. Photos of the seized evidence plastered every newspaper and news feed. The people who once cheered his name now spat it out like poison. Ryan stood outside the courthouse, raincoat draped over his shoulders, cigarette glowing between his fingers. Reporters swarmed, but he ignored them, eyes fixed on the horizon. Michael appeared at his side, hands shoved into his pockets. For the first time in years, the tension between them had softened. "So what now?" Michael asked quietly. Ryan exhaled smoke. "Now, I keep doing my job, and you keep your nose clean." Michael smirked faintly. "Guess we'll see how long that lasts." They stood in silence as Avery was escorted past them, shackled and broken. Justice had come at a cost. Blood, betrayal, and scars that would never fully heal. But for the first time in a long while, Ryan felt something close to peace. The storm had passed for now. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.